Hey guys, welcome back. So in episode 2 of Scenery Secrets, we're going to be talking about a product called Shaper Sheet by Woodland Scenics. This is going to be a recast of a video that I did like 4 or 5 years ago. So I'm trying to organize my videos on my page, and so I'm taking the older videos and sort of bringing them forward, adding a little more content on the front end so I introduce them a little better and explain what we're doing. And so this is going to be about building mountains and blending things into your scenery using this product. The main part of the video, which was done 4 years ago, is still relevant, and so if you've already seen that part, you can skip over it and just go to another video. But if you've never seen this or you're interested in this product, then this video will give you a really good indication of how it can be used. So let's get started. Okay, so what is this product called Shaper Sheet? So it's a product by Woodland Scenics. It comes on these rolls, and I believe it comes in 2 sizes. It used to anyway. They may have more sizes now for all I know. I'd have to go check their website. But basically it's a product that is sort of a very heavy foil on the back, and then on the front it has this sort of cloth face on it. With these little kind of fibers sticking up. And what you do with it is you can shape it any way that you want to into shapes. That's why they call it Shaper Sheet, obviously. And then you can put it down on your layout, right? And you adhere it, like I just used like hot glue, basically. And you can see like right here, if I just did this, I've sort of got a little mountain right here, or a little bump in my layout. And so you can actually build complete mountains with this product, and if you get the larger sheets. And basically what I do is I cut foam blocks as my support. So you go to Home Depot or Lowe's and you grab that 1-inch insulating foam, hard rigid foam sheets, and you can cut them up and you just hot glue them on your layout to create a basic structure. And that's what I did behind my tunnel. And then you use this Shaper Sheet and you just put, this would be on the bottom on the plywood, and it just kind of runs up the wall and you make it all the way to the top of your structure for your mountain. And you can actually build an entire mountain in a day. That's how fast this stuff goes. And even after it's up, you can put more crimps in it. You can put sharp edges, depending what you're after, right? You can do whatever you want to it and shape it any way that you want to, and it holds its shape because it has this such heavy foil on the back. And then what'll happen is, because it has this cloth front on it, you can paint it, and the paint will absorb into it, and then you can spray an adhesive on there and put flocking and all kinds of ground cover on it, trees, whatever you want to. Because it's kind of thick, even if it was a horizontal piece, you can still put like trees and stuff in here and it'll actually hold it. Now, it won't support things like buildings and things like that. So if you have a horizontal area with a building or anything like that, you'll need to put some kind of a foam support underneath the Shaper Sheet before you put the Shaper Sheet on. But it's great for a very fast and easy way to build mountains, or even if you want to blend something into your layout. So for instance, I have a couple of operating accessories on my layout. One is the Lionel playground, and one is the Lumberjacks. And both those accessories have about a 1-inch base on them where the motor portion of it is that runs those accessories, right? So when you put them on your layout, they don't look very natural, because like it looks like somebody has to take a little step stool to get up to the park, right? So what I did is I put this Shaper Sheet around the edges of that accessory and then just sloped it down to the main part of the layout, and then you cover it all with ground cover and it blends the accessory completely into the layout. So it's really cool stuff, but the best part about it is it's super fast. So the old school method of building mountains was, you got those cardboard strips, you put them in a lattice, you glued it all up, right? Then you had to get that plaster of Paris stuff and all those sheets. That was such a mess, right? And then put that all on the mountain. You had to wait till that dried, then you have to paint it, and it was just a long, tedious process. Now you can actually get foam and actually carve out the mountain out of foam, and that works much better than the old process of the plaster of Paris stuff, right? And when you carve, you can get a lot more detail out of the mountain than you may be able to get out of the shaper sheet. Because again, this is like, you know, if I wanted to see like, say horizontal, you know, rock cliffs and stuff like that, it's going to be really hard with the shaper sheet to get perfectly straight lines going across that you could carve out of foam. So in that particular case, foam blocks glued together and then carved is a much better process. But if you're after something like I was, which is to get a general sloping type of mountain type of thing that just looked like a rough sort of rock face, then this stuff is perfect and it goes up really fast. So the mountain that I created on my layout was a single day to get the structure built, put the shaper sheet on, and get it exactly the way I wanted it. I even painted it the first day, and then the second day I put on all the ground cover and I was finished. So 2 days, complete mountain, was completely finished with it. Obviously my mountain is not that big, it's just a corner tunnel that goes on the one corner of the layout, but if you have a huge mountain it may take you a day or two, but it's still incredibly fast when you use these product, and it's nice and stiff, so it won't move. The best part about it is, though, after you get it up, if you decide you don't like a particular area and you want to push it in or push it out or whatever, right from behind it you can do that and you can still shape it. I've used actually a little pick like this. Let me show you here. This little pick right here that had a 90-degree angle, and so when the shaper sheet was up on my mountain, if there was an area that I thought was too in, I would just take my pick, puncture it, and just pull it out with the pick and reshape it. And so you can do that even after you've already got it applied to your layout. Because basically it's almost like you're attaching it at the bottom with hot glue and you're attaching it at the top and the sides with hot glue, and then the middle part is sort of free-floating and you can shape it any way you want to. And then when you have two pieces together, you just sort of overlap them a little bit and you just put some hot glue between them, and that holds the two together, because of course that will all be covered with ground cover and things like that. So I really love this product, and the video that I'm going to show you, which I did about 4 years ago coming up, is going to show you kind of how I did some of that stuff. But let's go over to the layout real quick, and I just want to show you a couple scenes where I've used shaper sheet and what the final result is. Okay, so this is one area on my layout where I used the shaper sheet. So this little accessory you're probably familiar with. This is Lionel's Lumberjack accessory. This is the one that operates where these two guys saw back and forth on this log, right? And so I created this little scene here where I had these guys sort of cutting down these trees here in this little area of the layout. So I put some stumps here and trees and, you know, things like that, and they're sawing the logs here, right? But this operating accessory looked really weird with the round base that was just sticking off the layout. So if you look at it now, you can't even tell that there is a motorized base on here, because all I did was I took some shaper sheet here, and you notice what I did here. The shaper sheet here comes up even with the roadway, but then I did this little sort of gully right here, and this is all shaper sheet right here. So if I you know, push on it a little bit, it flexes a little bit, you can see, but basically I just crimped it all the way around. Here I made sort of a little rock that stuck out. And this is all the shaper sheet right here. And then I blended it down, and then it kind of slopes down to this area. So you don't even notice, right, that there's actually a base underneath here. And then I put the ground cover on top here, and the ground cover actually covers all the mechanism for the Lionel base, right? There's nothing actually showing of the, I think on the Lionel base, it's like this color right here, this sort of yellowish brownish color, and I just use some ground stuff to blend it in here, and you can't even tell there's anything there. And that is used with shaper sheet. Now you can see this is just a very small sort of lift up, but you can get really imaginative with it, right? You can make it even on one side with your road surface or whatever it may be, and then you can create little gullies and things like that all the way around. So that's one area I did it on, which worked out really well. So let's look at another one. Okay, so this is another area I used the shaper sheet on, and this was a playground area. This is another one of Lionel's accessories that has this big base on it, right? So I wanted to blend it in. So you can see here I kind of did the same thing. here's my roadway, right? And then it kind of goes up a little hill up to this park area. And you can see around the perimeter, I did different things. So here I used the shaper sheet to create like a rock outcropping a little bit bigger than over here. Right here on this side, you can see it's very gradual going up a hill. But over here, I did this outcropping, and I added that. And then over here, you can see I actually used the shaper sheet to create a gradual walkway that goes up to the park from the development, right? And then on the other side right here, it's a much steeper slope. But in general, you can see what happened is it blended the park accessory right into the layout. And then again, I used ground cover and bushes and things like that on top of the shaper sheet. And it works perfectly fine. You can see it supports like figures and anything else very easily. It's not going to collapse or anything because again, it's a very stiff product. I even have a tree over here, and this tree is in the shaper sheet itself. It's mounted in the shaper sheet. And that's kind of what it looks like. So it works really well for blending things into your layout. All right, so let's go look at the tunnel. Okay, so here's the mountain. This mountain is completely made of shaper sheet right here, right? And it's just all the different rock face and everything I did on here is all based on just how I pushed in or pushed out on the shaper sheet to create what I wanted here, right? And the way it works is you can see it goes around my tunnel portals, and I just hot glued it around the portals. And then at the top here where I have my radio station, right below this, there's a foam base basically that's holding up the radio station and everything. And the shaper sheet was just kind of attached to the top of it. So this entire mountain that you see here was done in a day using this product. All right, let's look at the back of it so you can see kind of how it's constructed. So you can see on the back here, I just have foam. These are just foam blocks, right? That's that insulating foam 1 inch you get from Home Depot or Lowe's, right? And then if we looked at back here, I actually left this open so that I could get to trains if they derailed or something back here. But if you look at the, that would be the front of the mountain that you would see, right? And there's the shaper sheet, which is all this foil stuff. And then you can see here, I just have sort of the foam supports for what I needed underneath here, and there's the upper support. So this, I basically cut the foam, right? Hot glued it together onto my layout. It only took like an hour tops. And then I put the shaper sheet around it, and that was it. That's all I needed. Okay, and then I know what you guys are thinking. Will the foil interrupt the command signal? And the answer is no, it will not. I have not had a single problem with the command signal going through this tunnel or anything like that, so you'll be good. So you just create your foam blocks to create your basic structure, and then you put the shaper sheet around it. And that's kind of what it looks like. And if you watch the rest of this video, you'll see how I first put the shaper sheet on, threw the paint on underneath it, and then put the ground cover on top of it. And then you put trees or whatever you want to. And then again, you can shape it any way you want to. So you can see over here I have a little outcropping coming off the side of the mountain. And then I did the same thing over here when I was trying to blend in the Rockville Bridge. So down here, I create a little outcropping, right? And then it sort of goes in and it blends into the waterway here for the Rockville Bridge. Rockville, not Rockwell. So the Rockville Bridge, right? But I needed to create, I didn't want to take out the bottom waterway because I thought it was kind of cool that came with the bridge. So I created this sort of ledge that comes up a little bit that would hold the water in under this lake here, right, that's underneath the bridge. And that's how you use it. So yeah, so that's basically my plug for Shaper Sheet. I think it's a great product and it works really good. This whole area over here with the church and the cemetery, this is all raised up with Shaper Sheet. Underneath it is a foam block, and then I put Shaper Sheet to raise it up a little bit to give it a little elevation. I wanted to make some parts of the layout go up and down, not just be a single flat layout going across. And so this is, again, one of those areas where I use that stuff. Super easy to use and super quick. You can get a lot of stuff done in a very short period of time, which is what I'm all about. Simple and easy ways to do scenery. Okay, so that's it. So yeah, I'm gonna attach the rest of the video here so you can see sort of the progress I did when I was doing it. But that's how you use this product, and you can get quick and easy mountains and grades and everything else incorporated into your layout. And so the thing about the scenery, the way I build it, is I try to do everything the quickest and easiest way possible. There's multiple different ways that you can make scenery, but I'm using materials and techniques that are quick and easy. So there are different ways to do it, obviously, and you can get into really heavily detailed and realistic types, but I'm just trying to make something that looks pretty good and is quick and easy. I don't want to spend a massive amount of time on building some of these things. So for instance, we're looking at a picture right here of the before and after of some of the scenery I've been making. So this is the banks that I've been making around the pond underneath the bridge, and you can see here that's the finished piece, and this over here is before it's finished. And you know, there's all kinds of techniques you can use, but obviously I'm using a quick and easy one, which is this stuff called Shaper Sheet, which is from Woodland Scenics. So it has a foil back and the cloth front, and it holds its shape however you bend it. And so instead of using plaster and all the normal traditional techniques, this is very quick and easy, and you can shape it any which way you want to. And all you do is you use a glue gun to glue it down to your layout here, so the edges or whatever you're gluing it on. If you need some kind of support underneath it, then you can just put a piece of foam like I have here. There's a piece of actually foam right underneath here that you can put, and then put the Shaper Sheet on top of it and just glue the edges down, which is what I did here. So I glued the edges down around the water, around the under the bridge here, glued this edge to the previous one that where I stopped, and then just shaped it the way I want to. And you can bend and shape it pretty much any way you want. And the best part about it is, if you don't like the shape after you do it, then you can rebend it and shape it later. So I had the mountain here already finished, and I didn't like the shape of it because when I was looking at it from different angles, the side of the mountain here went down too straight, and I wanted it more angled. So all I did is I pulled up the Shaper Sheet off the layout at the bottom, and again, because I'm just using hot glue, it comes right off. And then I just re-glued it down, pulled it out a little bit, and made it more of an angle. And then if I don't like something that's in the mountain itself, you can take something like this little tool here. It's a little hook tool, okay, and then you just can puncture the sheet right where you want to and yank it out and change the shape. So actually, after you get it up, if you don't like the shape, you can still change it. You can't do that with plaster based techniques. So all I did here for this mountain is build a foam structure underneath. So very quickly, just some quick foam panels hot glued together, and then I put the Shaper Sheet over it and formed it the way I wanted to, and then again hot glued it on, just the edges. So there's nothing that has to be supported on this, and nobody's ever going to touch it, so there's no reason to have a hard shell on it. Okay, it's still flexible a little bit if I need it to be, but it still holds its shape. So it's not like it's going to collapse or anything like that. The heavy foil backing on the back is what's basically keeping its shape. So here you can see I just shaped it however I wanted to, and then this is the first stage after shaping, which is I just took 3 or 4 different colors and just splotted them all over the mountain. Simple as that. No special technique, just randomly splot them all over the place. So I have some burnt and raw umber colors, some grays, and then some dark browns occasionally here and there. And then once you do that, all I do is I take some spray adhesive, so 3M spray adhesive in a can, and I spray it all over the mountain, and then I just take the ground cover and I just really just sprinkle or throw it on, and you can push it into areas where you want to have everything completely covered, or you can leave some, like you see here where you see sort of those white spots that look like rocks coming out of the ground. That's just unpainted and untouched shaper sheet showing through. And then when you see the reddish and the brown spots, that's where the paint was. So you can easily change it the way you want to by just adding more ground cover to an area or scraping some off. But once you spray it with the adhesive, then I just throw it on, and then I just take my hand and pat ground cover into areas that may be a little more bare or something like that, and it sticks, and then it'll stay on the vertical surfaces. So that's just one of the techniques that I'm using for anything I need to do, raised levels or mountains. If we look over here, like for instance on this little playground area that we made, I showed you in a previous video, you can see it's raised up and everything. This is really just this accessory with shaper sheet around the edges that I've glued, and then I covered with ground cover and blended it all in. So again, the accessory itself was higher than the platform, and so in order to get it to look realistic, I just needed to add some shaper sheet to it to create the grades from the height of the accessory down to the actual platform itself. And so any place I need any kind of like bump up in grade, little hill, whatever it may be, I'll just use this shaper sheet product by Woodland Scenic. Comes in rolls, and they have two different size rolls, so you can get larger rolls and smaller rolls. And then just created that. And that is a quick and easy way to make mountains, hills, grades, whatever you need, without spending a ton of time and mess, by the way, with the plaster-based stuff. So I've seen guys use chicken wire and cardboard strips and everything else to make these mountains and everything like that, and you're spending a lot of time when you don't need to, because you'll get the exact same result if you use the shaper sheet, because again, you can shape it any which way you want to. It's like a piece of, think of it as like a piece of aluminum foil, and you crumpled it, and you're just shaping it however you want to. And that's what it works. Now, they do sell a plaster that you can put on top of the shaper sheet if you want to make it a hard shell. I can't find any reason to do that because nobody's sitting or standing on these mountains or doing anything with them. It's just scenery, so they're hard enough just like they are as is. And again, if you want to put trees on them and things like that, you can still glue stuff on them, and it's got plenty of support. Like I could put trees all on top of this mountain if I wanted to. I just, you know, slit a little hole, put some hot glue and glue the tree on, and they would stay fine. It's not like the mountain's going to collapse because it has enough structure to it. You can see on the top here, I just have the platform for the foam. So if I needed something that needed to be on top of the mountain like I have here, then I can just make the structure underneath, and then you just wrap the sheet around it. So see, I have it coming down here off the grade too as the grade goes down. So something very easy and quick to do. I created this whole, you know, mountain and the grades and everything in less than a day, and that included making the substructure with the foam and everything else. So, but that's the I'm going to show you the before. So that's sort of the before after the sheet's been attached, and I've done the basic sort of camouflage, I call it, painting on it, which gives you all the different colors. And then the next step will be to spray it with spray glue, and then put the ground cover on top of it. So we'll get a picture of that after we do that, and you can see the before and after. Alright, so here's the finished product. So you saw what it looked like before, and this is what it looks like after. So all I did is first I sprayed it with just some spray adhesive, in a can. So I sprayed the top of the shaper sheet, and then all I did was take different color ground cover and sprinkled it on top. So I usually start with the earth tone, earth blend ground cover, then I'll do the greens, and then you top it off with some colors usually. So I'll do like these reds and these yellows here as some of the colors to top it off with, and that's what gives it the different shades when you're looking at the thing. So you can see the little red on the top that kind of looks like flowers or growth or something like that, and you just blend it in. Now on the spots here on the side here where it looks sort of like gray white rock, that's just the plain old shaper sheet showing through with no paint. And the ones that have like the reddish marks and stuff, that's where you saw those paint marks before I put the cover on. This literally took maybe 5 minutes to do once I sprayed it with the glue. So I sprayed it with the glue, and then it just immediately just started sprinkling ground cover on it. On the vertical sides, I just took my hand and just patted it onto the sides. And you can use different textures. So you have this is more of a heavier texture here, and then you have the finer texture ones. So just pick a couple different colors. That's really all you need. But that's simple as that. So you can see how something looks pretty realistic in just a couple minutes. So you could do a mountain or anything you want to do in a full day just by using the shaper sheets around some kind of a structure, and then spraying it with spray glue and then putting your ground cover on top. So next I'll be doing this section right here, which is an empty section between here and the mountain. And on these sections I usually like to try to put a piece of grass mat or something down here first, only because it's a big area. So instead of wasting a lot of ground cover, I'll just cut a basic mat out, basic shape, and then I'll blend it in on the edges and on the top with some loose ground cover to make it look realistic. But that way you don't waste a whole lot of ground cover. And if you do have seams between your plywood like you see here, I usually put a piece of tape down first just to make sure nothing falls through. So we'll do that piece next, and then we'll move over to the actual mountain itself. But that's the basic way you do it. Alright, so for this next section here, again, I'm always about quick and easy. So first thing I do is, because it's a wider section of ground to cover, I cut a piece of vinyl grass mat. And you know, you can use all different shades and colors depending what area you're trying to do. And then I just use the hot glue gun and I glue it down. Just glue some of the middle part, and then I put a glue all around the edge to make sure the edge is down. And that's the important part. You don't want the edge to flip up over time, and then when you put your ground cover to blend it in, it'll show through. So make sure you get your edges all glued down. But that's all I do, and that covers a wide area. Now you can cover it with the regular ground cover and make it look more realistic. Plus you've saved a lot of ground cover instead of wasting a lot by just having a piece of grass mat. So I find that one big roll of the grass mat is all you need for a good size layout, because you're just cutting it in small sections here and there. So that's what I need. So the next step I'm going to do here is I got a couple of large trees I want to put in this section, and I'm going to drill those holes first. You want to do that now so that you can vacuum up the sawdust from that and then put your ground cover on. If you put your ground cover on first and then try to drill your holes, then you're going to get sawdust mixed in it, and then you have to almost take it all off and then put it back on. So I'll do that next. And then after that, what we'll do is on this corner right here, since we're trying to finish this section, we will put our ground cover on the mountain here and then finish out this whole section right here. So next will be to get our holes drilled and put our trees in. Okay, so here we are. We've drilled our holes. You can see some of the sawdust laying down here, and we've just positioned our trees to see where we want to have them. So we got a couple of big trees we're putting back here, filling in this area. But we haven't glued them in yet because we're going to clean up that sawdust. We're just going to vacuum that up, and then we're going to do some ground cover on the mountain here, and then we'll be ready to finish this area. So next step will be to vacuum that stuff up, do the ground cover on the intersecting area here on the mountain, and then we will fill in all the blending that goes around the edges here, and then put some more ground cover on the ground underneath the trees. So that'll be our next step. So let's do the mountain next. So all we're going to do again is spray some spray glue on the mountain itself, and then we're just going to sprinkle some different colors and textures of ground cover right on it. And then once we get that done, we'll come back and look at it. Alright, so we've taped off our track. Make sure you do that because otherwise the spray glue tends to get all over the place, and then you'll get glue on your track you'll have to clean off later. So I just cover it quickly with some painter's tape. And then I sprayed the glue on this section of the mountain. I don't know if you can see it in the camera, but it actually brings the fiber hairs up when you spray it. So you kind of know, you can very easily see which section has the glue on it. So then we're just going to take our ground cover and we're just going to basically throw it against the mountain and pat it in, and then and cover it. So let me do that and we'll come back. Alright, so we did our end here, so you can see we applied some of the ground cover, and you're getting a different colors showing through on the mountainside here. So depending, you know, the white, which looks just like sort of rock coming through the mountain, is really just the shaper sheet uncovered. And then the other colors showing through are just those splatches of color that I put on before, like over here. So you're just covering it with ground cover, and you can use heavier ground cover, different colors, whatever you want to do. You can see over here, I put a little sort of red vein in the mountain, but you know, you spray it with spray glue, and then you can throw the ground cover on it, and then for the areas that are, especially areas that are vertical that you want to cover, maybe there's a bare spot or something, you just take it in your hand and you pat it against the mountain, and it will stick because it has the glue on it. And then what I did is I vacuumed all the extra up after that, and now I have my holes here ready for my trees. I've got the end of my mountain completed here, and you can add more things like, you know, brush, plants, and things growing out of the side of the mountain later on just by using your glue gun. But that maybe took 5-6 minutes to accomplish this section right here. So it's very easy, and there's actually a little much too light green in here. I think I'm going to put some darker green in here too, and you can just keep adding to it. But one thing I would suggest is also, I forgot to do this on this one, when you're spraying your glue, don't forget you don't want to spray it on your ballast, which is already set in place here, because if you do that, then when you sprinkle your stuff, it's going to stick to the ballast here and you're not going to be able to get it off. So either extend your tape over the ballast, or make sure that when you're spraying your spray glue that you put a piece of paper as you're spraying over it so you don't get glue on the ballast. And then all I do is just vacuum up with a vacuum, and it takes it right off the ballast, because this of course is already glued in place. So that's the key, is having your ballast down first and then doing the rest of your stuff. So now that we have sort of the end finished here, we're going to add some vegetation around the opening here, and we'll put our trees in, and then we'll put our ground cover for that in. So let's get that piece done so you can see what that looks like. Alright, so here we go with the finished product. So that is the area that was blank before. So we've added our trees in here. You can see we've got some ground cover on top of the mat that we had down. We put some broken branches and twigs and things like that. Different colors under the trees, you know, for dirt and mounds. And then on the side of the tunnel here, we've got some growth coming out. Same thing on the top. You know, these things hide the seams and
transition zones, things like that. But there is the finished part of the mountain with ground cover on it. Now we can add more ground cover, especially on the top there, you know, different things, trees, bushes. But the basic covering is on. And this section right here, which was completely blank before, is now finished. So we have our finish to the end of the bridge. And then get an overhead view here. And then the start of our mountain. And you can see all the different colors showing through based on those paints, and then the white spots that look like gray rock, which are really just plain old shaper sheet showing through. So very easy to do, doesn't take much time, and that's all what I'm all about, is quick and easy. You could spend a month detailing an area like this if you really want to get 100% realistic, but I'm just looking for something that looks pretty good, is quick and easy, so I can get the layout finished, because really I want to run trains. I'm not really wanting to spend 20 years building a layout. I just want to get it built and looking pretty good and get my trains running. So that's it. That's the basics for how you can do a scenery section. You really just need a couple of things, supplies. The main thing is just to get a couple different colors of ground cover and mix them all together, and you're just making them as random as possible. That's what makes it look more realistic. Here's just an overall view of the new section. So with some simple materials and a little time, probably took maybe an hour to do this whole section right here. You can have something that looks pretty good, and it's not too hard to do. So again, highly recommend the Woodland Scenic Shaper Sheet for any kind of mountains or hills or anything you're trying to build that has some kind of a shape like that. And then obviously you're just going to use some spray adhesive and ground cover and sprinkle it all over the place and make it as random as possible, and it'll look pretty natural. So that's
okay, guys, that's it for this second episode of Scenery Secrets about this product that I've used called Woodland Scenic's Shaper Sheet, which is, I think, is a fantastic product. If you haven't tried it, give it a shot. Even if you use a little bit on your layout, it'll probably be worth it. So yeah, that's it. I hope you enjoyed the video and it helps you in your scenery quest on your layout, and I will see you guys next time.